well lit?
Yes, you do.
Okay, good. Okay. Well worth plugging them in, Roger Watts. Okay. So we'd like to welcome you live to Fabric Chicks Monday Demo Day. What's wrong?
What is it supposed to look like?
Okay, hang on a second. Go ahead and tell us where you're from. Does it always look like that? Hi, Laura. How are you? Okay. All right. So you know us and our technical abilities. We are not that amazing. I should have gone to school to get a techie degree if I thought that the world would be where it is now, but I didn't. Hey Rondi. Hey Brenda. Hey Mo. So Christy's here. Hey Christy.
Hi. Am I frozen? Because I'm frozen on mine. It's kind of weird.
You are?
Nope,
you're not frozen on mine.
Okay, just checking.
Okay. Hey Ellen from Snowy Sparks. It is snowing here pretty good. We actually got a phone call this morning at 6:11 saying that school was canceled for a snow day. The roads are literally the clearest I've seen them in weeks. It's like water. There's no snow.
Slush, icy slush.
Okay, well, the snow is not sticking. So the kids have gone to school in much worse weather. But for some reason today at 6:11, school was canceled. So anyways, even Christy from Fallon, Nevada has snow. Or you're getting snow.
It snows. It goes away. It's snowing right now outside again.
It is? And you love it, I hear.
No. What do you...
Oh.
That's why I live in Fallon.
I know. It's crazy. Well, welcome, everybody. Kathleen says no snow there, but lots of rain in Southern California. I know. If it rains where you guys are, like in the Bay Area, then you can guarantee we're probably going to get snow. Hey, Roger, want to just span out the window and you can show them the snow? Carolyn said she got a couple of inches there, but it's melting now, but it's very dark outside. I know, Carolyn, I drove through, we stopped at In-N-Out Burger in Auburn the other day when in the middle of the snow storm and then came over the mountains. It was a bit crazy. Okay, so we've got two exciting things to talk to you guys today about. Christy's going to talk to you about the banner of the month. She's going to show you, because I don't know why, but Facebook wouldn't record more than 20 seconds. So she was going to show you the banner on Facebook. So hopefully we can figure out what's going on there. But Christy's going to go first so she can get it over with. And she's going to tell you about the Banner of the Month Club. And then and show you some embroidery stitches. And then we did a collage class last week. And I have gotten several questions since then about fusibles, the different kinds of fusibles and all that good stuff. So we're going to talk more in depth about fusibles this afternoon. So Christy, I'm just going to turn it over to you so you can show us. Here, I'm going to make you big. Hang on a second. Okay.
No.
There you go.
Okay, everybody. The Banner of the Month class is March 16th from 4 to 5 p.m. We are going to be doing this cute little banner. I finally got a stand, as you guys can see. So, but it's on this nice plaid flannel, and then we have a green flannel here. And then what we're going to learn for this one is we're going to learn basically. Okay, so today we call this 3D embroidery. It's in the 17th century, it was called stump work. In the 15th century, it was called embossing. So this kind of embroidery has been around for a long time, but I'm going to try and show you guys how dimensional it looks. This is basically a petal, and it's actually stuffed with polyfill inside of it. Other than that, we're going to do some free embroidery. And then we're going to add this cute little trim or a cute little trim at the bottom. And again, that's March 16th from 4 to 5. And the cost of the class is $5 if you just want to come join us and just sew and listen or just hang out. It's $19.95 for the kit and $20 for the class and the kit. So like for 5 cents more, it's probably better if you're going to get the kit to do the class and the kit. So just let us know. You can just let us know here if you're interested. Also, April, we're going to be doing, I'll just give you a little bit of a preview. We're going to be using and learning more about Angelina, which is this pretty stuff here. Let me see if I can get it here. And we're going to be working with that for our April banner. And I'll put that up today, so we at least have it scheduled, and you can sign up online on Fabric Chicks if you'd like. Other than that, if you have any questions, are there any questions at all? Would you like to see the banner again? I'll show it one more time.
Okay, show it one more time. And you can also see it. It's posted on Fabric Chicks Stitch Along, and I believe on the Fabric Chicks Facebook page.
Mm-hmm.
Super pretty. So stump work. I'm excited to learn about something new.
It is. It's something new, and it's kind of funny because I was reading about. I've been experimenting with a lot of embroidery stitches, and I was reading about stump work, and it, like I said, it was. I mean, it's gone back to like the 1400s. They were doing this kind of embroidery work, and it was mostly the wealthy children who learned how to do it. But you know, as they grew up, girls, of course. And but it basically lasted. It's kind of funny. I was thinking too how names of things change, because like in the 14th century it was called embossing, and then the 17th century was kind of like when it hit its height of popularity or whatever, and it they changed the name of it, and then now we call it 3D embroidery. They called it stump work in the 17th century, and now they call it you know, they call it 3D embroidery, which is weird, well, right?
Yeah, except for 3D embroidery, I think sounds so modern, and stump work is kind of like everybody would be baffled. And Joanne, we can record the class, but we won't keep the recording very long, only because it costs us a lot of money to store the recordings. So, so I can definitely record it and then like give it to you for a couple of weeks, but then we'll delete it because we just can't keep everything recorded. It honestly, like they nickel and dime us to death on that.
Well, also I want to tell everybody too is I will be doing a little video on the petals that will be on the YouTube channel. So if you do miss the class and the recording's gone, you can always go back to the YouTube channel and watch it however many times you want, you know. So we're going to try and do that for every class, because every class and every banner, we're going to try and do something new that you guys haven't tried before. Just kind of give you more techniques and, you know, to use in your own work.
I like it because it's like a base knowledge, and then I can take those same stitches and then add them into my collages and all kinds of different work to personalize and make my artwork more unique.
Well, you know, want to know what's crazy? When I was doing this, if you could see, like, obviously it's very thick, but when I was doing it, I was thinking, you know, this would make a really good tree trunk if you did it with browns.
Yes. Now you're thinking.
I know. I was like, oh, I could do this for a tree trunk. I could do this for anything.
Right.
So, okay, that's all I have, guys.
Okay, perfect. All right, so here I'm gonna. Do you girls have any other questions for Christy before she logs off? I think you were pretty clear.
Okay, good.
All right, thank you. Thank you for being a surprise guest.
You're welcome. Bye.
Okay, so now we've got fusibles. So I've kind of, everybody has a different way of doing fusibles. There's all kinds of products out on the market. So I have labeled them in case there's something that we're going to talk about that you're interested in. I'm going to do a quick demo on my favorite fusible, which is Steam-A-Seam 2 Light. But when I first started sewing back 30 years ago, I don't know if any of you remember, but I should do a prize or something for this. If you can guess who the first person was who really made fusible applique famous. If you can type that in, who made it super famous back in the day, super cutesy. Anyways, so Wonder Under was pretty much the first product, the first bonding agent that we had. It's still on the market today. It is a single-sided fusible. It's double-sided, but they don't call it double-sided like they do Steam-A-Seam. So this side is where your fusible is, and then on the back side is where your paper is. So you would trace your design onto your paper and then cut it out exact and then iron it to the wrong side of your fabric. In every class that we teach, somebody's going to iron it to the pretty side of their fabric. If you do that, your fusible is going to be all gummy on the top pretty side of your fabric. You're going to throw that away and start over. Don't really worry though. It's just a little piece of fabric, so it's not the end of the world. Sometimes though, the reaction when it happens makes us all want to cry. Wonder Under, to me, it's stiffer. It's not my favorite. But it will work. If that's what I have, I'll totally use it. It is less expensive than Steam-A-Seam 2 Light, but it also is thicker and it's going to gum up your needle more. So I do like to use it if, say, I'm doing a wall hanging and I want to iron the backing fabric to my batting, and then I want to iron my batting to my quilt top, and I want it to be super stiff so it hangs nicely as a wall hanging. I would use this to fuse all those layers together, but it would have to be a small project because I don't want to have to stitch through all of that Wonder Under, but it will totally make your project hang nice. So that's my little spiel about Wonder Under. Misty Fuse, a lot of the those who consider themselves art quilters, they love Misty Fuse. You can see it's a very thin webbing. It's super easy to stitch through, really not going to gum up your needle. You're going to take your pattern piece. You're going to trace out your pattern piece. You're going to cut. When I use it, I take my pattern piece and I put it on one side, and then I just cut it out as I hold it. And then I fuse it to the back side of the fabric. No matter what, when you're working with fusibles, you are going to get fusibles on your iron, which makes me super kind of a little bit giving me anxiety because I'm going to use my very new iron on, with this project. First time I've used the iron. But Misty Fuse is good for lightweight adhesives, okay? Not my favorite though, but S135, it's $2.49 a yard. So if you need any of these products, you can just type that in. Another thing that a lot of people will use is the Steam-A-Seam 2 Light. It's like a tape, a 1/4-inch tape. I personally don't ever use it. But if you wanted to like put a trim onto a project and have it lay exactly where you want it before you stitch it, this would be great for that. It says you don't have to actually stitch it, but I would, just to adhere it, especially if you're putting it on a garment. I know that Laura Heine uses this to put around, once you applique all of your fabrics onto your background piece and you're ready to, well, the muslin, the stabilizer piece. So when you do a Laura Heine collage, she typically does an outline of the animal, and then she cuts out and fuses all of the pieces. And then you have this big piece. It's one piece with all of your fabric, and you're going to take that one piece and you're going to put it on your background fabric. And Laura would recommend that you take the 1/4-inch tape to secure it onto your backing fabric. I personally don't feel that it's needed because you have one ginormous unit. You can just put it onto your fabric with either some leftover Steam-A-Seam, just whatever scraps you have, you can put it on like that. Or you can also just put it on, pin it, and then quilt it. So it's kind of something like everything you have to use and find what works best for you. Okay, so does it hold well enough? Carolyn, which product are you using? Ann Lindemeyer uses the tape for binding. Ann, after you use the tape for, yes, bad hair day and no heat. Mary, you're only like 20 minutes from here. You know it's snowing outside. But the tape, so Ann, once you use the tape for your binding, Then do you stitch it down by hand, or do you stitch it down by machine, or do you just leave it? Because I know people do use it for their binding, but it's kind of like a second step that you might not necessarily need. Carolyn uses it for binding too. Okay, so you guys are gonna have to type in why you use it for your binding. Is it so you don't have to hold it down as you hand stitch it, or do you just use this and not stitch it? Okay, let us know. Oh, okay, wait, I gotta go back. I missed a bunch of comments. Okay, let's see. Sandy, I don't know yet. I'll let you know about the supplies for the banner class. Christy's supposed to be coming tomorrow or whenever we have a break in the snow so we can get the kits together. EPB. No, it was not Eleanor Peace Bailey, Kathleen, or Holly Hobby. Joanne Garbarini, you are right. It was Debbie Mum. Debbie Mum made applique. It was kind of a cheater way. Before Debbie Mum, we really kind of were expected to do all applique by hand. And then Debbie Mum just made it super famous. Like she was everywhere. With the back in the day, it was cheater applique. But now everybody does machine applique. Okay, let's see. Okay, so that's the question of the day. Does the Wonder Under 1/4 inch tape work for binding without having to sew it? All three, mostly machine stitch after I press it to the front or the back, so much easier than pinning. Okay, so I guess that makes sense. So Anne uses it on her binding before she stitches it so that it doesn't move around. I don't ever machine stitch my binding unless I add a flange. So I don't really need it because I'm hand appliquing my binding down. I was, in fact, hand appliquing binding down until 1 o'clock this morning. I think. What time was it, Roger, when I finally finished? I don't know. It was the wee hours of the morning when I finished the binding. Anyways, S134 is $12 for the 1/4 inch tape. And then, let's see. So another thing that sometimes we use instead of a fusible is the Material Magic. So the Material Magic is going to stiffen your fabric so that it will feel, and I know you guys can't feel it, but it feels like this. So when you cut around it, see how it's got body? So I can just pin this onto my background fabric and do the stitching. I don't need a fusible as long as I pin it. So to me, I do like that. I use the Material Magic a lot just because it's a big piece. If it was a smaller piece, I would want to use a fusible. But this way I don't have to stitch through all those layers. So we do have Material Magic. The smaller bottle is S140 for $23. The big ginormous bottle is S141 for $69. Another thing that people are using for the Material Magic is to embroider. So you can treat your fabric and then embroider it. You can also treat your fabric and run it through your printer and print. So you would just treat your fabric with the Material Magic, cut it to the size you want, 4 by 6, 8.5 by 11 or whatnot, and run it through your printer. I haven't tried it because I use the photo fabric. I just think it's a little bit more stabilized, but I should try it. You know, we start to use the certain things and we just keep using those. And then we have Wash Away Wonder Tape. So this is what Peggy showed you guys how to use a long time ago. This might work better, Anne, for your binding because one, it will wash away, so it's not as thick. And it also looks like it's a hair narrower than the Steam-A Seam. Steam-A Seam is a 1/4 inch, and this looks like, well, we'd have to ask Peggy how wide it is, but it does look narrower. So, and it does say perfect for holding together seams or hems before stitching. So S145 is the wonder tape. Hey, Raylene, you are on my list to call. It's a big list. It's a big list. Like, I don't know. I'm never going to catch up. Oh, good job, Joyce. I'm glad to hear you've got a finished quilt. Post it on the Fabric Chick Stitch Along so we can see it. Stitching, do you place the 1/4 inch so you're not gumming up the needle when you hand stitch through it? Good question. All right, Anne, read your comments. I already put it in. The Bow Nash already got mailed to you. Okay. All right, I'm trying to not miss anything. Does the stiffness with Material Magic wash out eventually? Paula, the stiffness with the Material Magic is going to wash out the first time you wash it. So the Material Magic really is only good until you wash it, and then it's going to be soft just like it normally would be. A lot of people, and I don't know if I said this already, but a lot of people are using the, here's one, these are old samples, but that's where they ran it through their die cutter. So you can see there, they ran it through and it cut the pieces. They're also using it to stabilize their embroidery so that they don't have to use a stabilizer. And then another question that I got was, what's the difference between fusible interfacing and fusible webbing? So fusible interfacing is used to stiffen your fabric. So you're going to fuse it to the back side of your fabric, and then you're going to stitch on it so you don't get puckering. So it does not adhere the two fabrics together like a fusible webbing does. So that's the difference of those two. Okay, let's see. I like that. I think we got that one. I know life is crazy. Okay, so then this here is going to be an example of the Steam-A-Seam 2 back when it used to be a blue grid. So this has been on there for a while. So a lot of times I probably got this out of the trash can when I was teaching a class. But the fusible is already on there. You're just going to peel it apart. Let's see here. So you can see that the fusible is on the back side, the sticky's on the back side, and then I can place it onto my fabric. What I love about Steam-A-Seam 2 is that it has a secondary stick. So say I fuse it onto the back side of my fabric that I want to iron on. Then now I'm going to put it on my backing fabric, right? So here it is, but see how it doesn't move? You could never do this with Wonder Under. If you did this with Wonder Under or Misty Fuse, it would just fall off. So in a class situation, it's super tragic. I had somebody had created the Ebba from Laura Heine, and the entire seahorse was almost finished, and her phone rang, and she reached over to grab her phone, and her sleeve of her jacket literally took all of her pieces on her project and like just moved them to the side. It was tragic. So that to me is worth the extra that you're going to pay for the Steam-A-Seam. But say I don't like it here on my background, it just peels off and you can move it somewhere else. Say I decide, oh, I really don't want to use that flower. You can put it back on a piece of fusible and save it for when you do want to use it some other date. So that's one of the main reasons I love the Steam-A-Seam 2 is that it has that double-sided sticky. So you can build your whole project and then move things around if you want. And I'm gonna tell you a secret that I learned with Donna Greenwald when she did our retreats for us. One of the most amazing teachers. If you get a chance to take a class from her, definitely do it. But a lot of times I pulled a really easy pattern. So here's an applique pattern. A lot of you bought this one the other day on one of our Wednesday sales. But you can see super clearly how the body is here. This is your pattern placement. This is your pieces. A lot of times these aren't reversed. See how it's reversed? So when you trace on the grid side of your fusible, you have to do it reverse so it's going the direction you want it to go, okay? So this one I did exactly like you guys have been taught your whole life. You always trace it onto the grid side of your fusible. So when you pull it off, it's going to pull off the paper that pulls off easiest has no fusible. You can use this as a pressing sheet if you don't have a pressing sheet. And then the sticky side is right here. Okay, so that's my sticky side. So when I cut this out, because I traced it onto the back side, it's going to be the reverse when I put it onto my fabric. So now that I've told you the way that you've learned it for the last 50 years, I'm going to tell you the way I usually do it because I'm a blonde. And a lot of times you'll buy a pattern and sometimes they've reversed some of the pieces. Some of the pieces they forgot to reverse. It's kind of a crapshoot. And if you're using a piece of fabric that you only have a limited amount, you don't really want to mess up. So I know that I really struggle with it being reversed, not being reversed, whatnot. So a little trick, write this down because it's going to confuse you, okay? But trust me, it may confuse you right now, but once it sinks in and once you get it, once it clicks, you are going to be so grateful for this information, okay? So I know it's going to confuse you right now, but tomorrow it will be like a blonde moment. The light bulb will go off and you'll be like, oh my God, it totally makes sense. So I literally never trace on the paper side, okay? I always pull off the paper and I trace right onto the sticky. And I would not trace this because I don't know if it's been reversed or if it hasn't been reversed. So I'm going to trace the exact picture that I want to replicate. So I'm going to trace the legs, I'm going to trace the body, I'm going to trace the head, I'm going to trace all the pieces just like I would over here, okay? So as you advance and you do more applique, sometimes you're going to find a photo or you're going to find a coloring page that you say, oh my God, that Easter egg is the cutest Easter egg. I want to make it. Your kids are coloring it or whatnot. And you say, I want to, or they color something at IHOP. And you're like, oh, I'm going to turn that into a quilt for them. And you take it home. It's not going to have all the reverse pieces for you, right? So you know in your little blonde head that if you trace their project or any project the exact way that it's going, if you trace it on the sticky side, it is going to go the exact way that you're tracing, okay? So you never have to have the confusion of, is it reversed, is it not reversed? Always trace it on the sticky side and it will go exactly like you're tracing, okay? And I don't trace. Oh, I brought down a pink marker. Let me see. Okay, a green green, pink, it's all the same. So I usually trace with the pastel markers because it's right on my fusible. And if I don't cut that line out completely, it's going to be ironed onto my fabric. And if my fabric is light, a black Sharpie is going to show through. So I always go to Walmart or wherever, buy their pastel color. And that's what I use to trace on the sticky. Okay. So let me see. Jenny, I'm telling you, you girls are gonna thank me. As soon as you go and you do it, you're gonna be like, oh my gosh. It is true. It is totally Steama is worth its price. Okay, so that is my little tip on Steama. I'm gonna show you just because I traced it out on the paper side. I'm just gonna show you. You're gonna trace it out. I always write on the piece what it is. Okay, so here's my body and it says right here body. Okay, so this is the non-blonde way because Connie Spurlock made the pattern so easy. Okay, so then I'm going to cut this out exact and we're just going to do one piece just so you guys get the hang of it, because apparently people are afraid of applique. I can't believe people still say it's the A word. Okay, so I'm going to just go like this, cut it out real quick. It really is nothing to be afraid of, okay? So I'm going to take this and I'm going to iron it. Let's see, what color do I want to make him? Okay, I'm going to iron it to the wrong side of my fabric. Unfortunately, this is a really bad example. I guess I could make a green one. So the wrong side, here I'm going to make a red chicken, okay? So the wrong side is the not pretty side. Although in your project, you might need the wrong side at some point to give definition. So I won't say that you always cannot use the wrong side, because you can if you need to. But for this purpose, we're going to take the paper off. Sometimes it's hard to get the paper to peel off. You can score it with a pin. Okay, if you score it with a pin, it will peel right off. Then I'm going to lay this down here, and I'm going to just put my wrong side here and put it on top of my ironing surface. I'm going to put this as close to the edge as I can, because I don't want to waste fabric, because fabric is very valuable, okay? So it's on the wrong side. Then I'm going to take my pressing sheet, because I do not want to get sticky stuff on my pretty little leopard iron. I know I have a purple one, so I only use, it is true. That is very true, Joyce. She said, Bonnie Hunter said, you paid for both sides of the fabric. You totally did. But choose wisely which side of the fabric you want to use, because once you put the fusible on it, you're pretty much married to it. So I'm going to tell you the reason I love Aliso irons is because when you take your hand off, it raises up. Did you see that, Roger? So when I put it down, so when I touch it, it comes up and down. I don't know if you guys are getting that action in there. So I cannot tell you how many pieces of fabric I have scorched and burned, how many ironing mats I have wrecked. So I only use Alisos because apparently that little action right there, I don't really know how to do. So I'm going to leave it down forever. I'm going to burn something. Could be the blonde in me. Okay, so once I've fused it, I'm going to find my scissors, and then I'm going to cut it out again. Okay. And we did do in Virginia Robertson's Hollyhock, we did do a little kind of a impromptu class to get people excited and started doing it. And a lot of people kind of struggled with the applique. So applique really is not hard. You can see it's kind of a no-brainer. You could iron all your pieces and then take them to the TV and binge watch. We just watched, what was it called? English?
Yeah.
It was so good. If you want a little bit of history, watch English. It's one of them limited series on, was it Hulu or Netflix?
I don't remember. It's called The English.
It was so good. It was about American settlement. Okay, so now that I've ironed it, I can tell it's going to not come off of my fabric very well. So I'm going to just hit it with, you saw me score it. I don't know if Roger was in there, but I just scored it like that. And then the paper will come right off. So now I don't really know where to put my body. So I'm going to use my pressing sheet. And I don't know if Roger can get in close. But so when I take my pressing sheet here and I take, you can see the outline of the chicken or whatever your applique is. And you can lay this right here. Okay. Oops, I didn't do a very good job tracing it exactly. Okay. So I'm going to lay that right there. And then I would do like the feet first because those are going to go under a little bit. So the feet are going to go here. The head's going to go here. You get the picture. Once I lay all of the pieces down and I once everything's laid down, I would take my pressing sheet. I would cover it. I would iron it again, right? Then I would pull it up with all the pieces and I would have one unit of a complete chicken. So I'll work on that and then do a picture of it step by step so that you guys can see it without having to spend a lot of time because it is kind of snowing. So that is the body, and super easy. So this chicken is not that detailed, but say you had a really intense floral something and you want it to be exact, building it on top of a pressing sheet and then fusing it, you lift it up and you have one unit. Even if you have 500 different applique little pieces, once you fuse it with your pressing sheet, which allows you to put the placement exactly where you want it, then when you pull it up, it is all one unit and you can take it right to your background. Okay, any questions on that? I got a third hollyhock block hand applique. Good job, Carolyn. I'm proud of you. Let's take bets as to how long that. So Mary Vitti, I'm just going to tell you, I'm taking it home. So it's going to last me a long time. I'm going to bring my purple ones to the shop. I know sometimes you just have to have something in your life that makes you happy. So if you need a leopard aliso, S134 is $219. Okay, let's see. I'm telling you, June, this is the best irons ever. I literally I have burnt through like amazing pieces and had to like layer more fabric on top to get rid of the burn mark. Okay, let's see. I was doubtful, but it really does work. I will always do it the way Beth shows. Carolyn, I'm telling you, it's kind of confusing because we just weren't taught to trace on right directly on the fusible, but it literally will make your life easier once it sticks. Okay, so let's see. Hey, Sue, it's good to see you. Okay, Kathleen. Perfect, Sue. So go and try it because applique really is one of my most favorite projects. So I'll do this. I'll finish it step by step and put photos in the Fabric Chick Stitch Along. If you're new to watching and you haven't joined the Fabric Chick Stitch Along, that's where anybody can post what you're working on and different things. So anything that we're talking about around here, we post on there. So if you need some Steama Seam 2 Light, S137 is $13.99. That is 24 inches wide. So you won't have as much waste as you would with 8.5 by 11 pieces because you can really move your project around and get the most out of it. So that's the Steama Seam 2. And then here is what Virginia's Hollyhock pattern looks like once you get your applique done. Okay, let me unplug this so I don't burn myself. So once you get your applique done, you can machine stitch it. If you're using fusible, you cannot hand stitch it. Okay, so we'll do a demo on how to do hand applique a different day. But here is all of this applique is done with fusible. And then it looks like it's done with matching threads with a buttonhole stitch to get that decorative stitch. You can use, you could also use a variegated thread, which would be fun. Here, this one has a variegated thread, so you can really see it accents nicely. To me, if I'm going to do the work, I'm probably going to do a variegated thread because you might as well see it. But a lot of times you might want to do something a little bit more, I guess, more classy. You might want to use an invisible stitch. So the monofilament would be good for that. And I know I always talk about having a binder of techniques. So if you're doing the collage class with us, you guys are getting the papers with the different techniques that we're doing. I have not reorganized this since the last time I taught this class, but this is what my binder looks like. So, so I have here, let's see, it hasn't been reorganized, but here's Terrio Magic with the trees. So the tree trunks. So it has the directions on how to do it. So anytime you do a new technique, especially in a class, you might learn a new technique, but then you don't use it for a long time. So just jot down what you did on the techniques and then leave a little piece in your binder. So this is what it looks like when you just do the stitching. And then Material Magic, once you steam it, it's going to shrink like 30%, about 30% it says. So it makes great texture for trees. Here it is in grapes. So that's just kind of what I mean when I say save your techniques in your binder so that you can go back and reference it. So that's that. Another fusible that is handy is 505 temporary spray. I personally don't like this. We do have it for sale, S139 for $22.95. It's great if you're doing like basting a quilt, but you're gonna breathe those fumes. So I would do it outside. It's not my favorite thing, but I know a lot of people do use it. It will adhere your fabrics. Fast Tack adhesive spray. This is a can that I've had, I don't know, probably 15 or 20 years. You can see I don't really ever use spray, but I do have it in case I want to. And then another way to fuse things is the bone ash, which Ann was talking about earlier. Can you do dense embroidery free motion on steam a seam too light, or is it better to do more open stitching? I would not do real dense stitching with the steam a seam. You could, but it's gonna be heavy. It's just gonna be heavy. So I wouldn't recommend it, Sandy. I don't think you would like it. D-twist is great for stitching down applique. If you guys aren't familiar with D-twist, it is two 40-weight threads twisted together by the machine, so that it's basically you get a variegated thread, but it is an even. If you thread two threads through your machine, sometimes one will kind of be more dominant. With a D-twist, you'll get an equal amount of the two threads. So, and it's a 20 weight, so you can totally run it through your machine. So Anne does use bone ash as a fusible as well. It's a bonding agent. No sewing required. We've like hemmed pants with it for Devon's, one of Devon's dances. Roger had a shirt that had a cigar burn in it. I fixed that with the bone ash. So this is just another bonding agent. And we will have Beryl on to do a demo on this. But we do have the complete starter kit includes a little pressing sheet with the powder. If this is for $10, it's just the fusible powder. Or Beryl had a complete starter kit that has a DVD on how to use the product. It has some iron clean, which is what you're going to need when you're using fusibles. I don't care how careful you are going to get fusibles on your iron. So the iron clean is super helpful for that. We also have it in the shop. I can throw it on Wednesday's sale. You get a big thing of bone ash, and then you get a pressing sheet. So that's a good deal. S03 is $25. And then let's see what else. I tried to go around the shop and see everything you could use for bonding your fabrics, because there are so many products out there. Another one that we use a lot is the Roxanne glue based it. I don't know if you guys ever got the chance to meet Roxanne. Joanne and I'm pretty sure Joanne took the classes with us, but Roxanne was a lot of fun. She did Tahitian quilting, and we did basically that's like a whole cloth that you cut out and just two fabrics. So you have the fabric you applique and then your background fabric, and the entire applique, which was ginormous. I'll find it upstairs and show it to you guys one of these days. But that was in my young and dumb days. I would never recommend doing a Tahitian quilt because the quilting is so intense, the hand quilting. Like my fingers literally were like raw hamburger. But I did it. I can say it's done. So the glue based is really a good product, especially if you're doing wool applique, because the pieces are thicker. and you really are going to do a lot of hand embroidery, so you don't necessarily want to use a fusible webbing, and also it's not going to unravel. The other thing that's good when you're doing applique is to use the serrated scissors so that it doesn't fray. So I'm trying to make your lives easier, girls. And then the other two products that we have, and then, oh, I got some other stuff too. Okay, the other two products we have are the photocopy paper that's backed. So it's a fusible that's backed and cut to 8.5 by 11, so you can run it through your printers. You could cut your steamer seam to 8.5 by 11 and run it through your printers. So basically what this does is it alleviates your having to trace. So you just put like this, say you're going to do this, you put your pieces that you're going to cut out. So you could do the whole piece or you could do this. If you do the whole piece, you're going to be in trouble with that wing, because that's going to be a separate piece. It needs to be separate on your whatever you're copying. But then you run it through your printer and you don't have to do any of the tracing. You can just go ahead and start cutting it out and fusing it to your fabric. So I would recommend this as a really handy thing for, say, a border that you're doing a lot of repetitive stuff. It would be great for that. Rondi says she likes the glue to some hand applique, but my favorite is blanket stitch with variegated thread. I agree. I believe the variegated thread makes it. Probably not, Rondi. We will be doing some spontaneous Wild Wednesday lives, but I don't know if you guys realize that we're not in lockdown anymore, so we're really struggling to balance walk-in traffic, online, like this crazy world we've created with Facebook and everything, and trying to juggle everything. So we have to really kind of focus on what is actually paying the bills, which unfortunately is kind of crazy right now, trying to figure all that out. So we probably will do spontaneous once in a while Wild Wednesdays, but not on a regular basis. What stabilizer do you use for dense motion embroidery stitching? If I'm doing dense embroidery stitching, I usually will treat the fabric with Material Magic, and then I also will use a stabilizer called I want to say Stitch Fix, but that's not that. That's like a clothing thing that they send you. Is Peggy on? Peggy, what's the name? Soft Flex, I think. Soft Flex interfacing, I think. It's a fusible fabric. So a lot of times the interfacings are kind of like a woven, lightweight. They're just not heavy enough, but there's a Shape Flex interfacing. So I love the Shape Flex. I'll show it to you on Wednesday. I'll get some and show it to you, but I'll iron it on the back of all my hand embroidery to help so it doesn't pucker. But I would do the Material Magic, and then I would also put Shape Flex on the back if I'm going to do a really intense stitching. And you'll have some, Sandy, because it will be in your kit for the collage class that's coming up. Okay, let's see. To baste a baby quilt, never again the smell. Kathleen, I'm with you. People swear by 505 spray, and I sell quite a bit of it, but it's, even if you're outside, you're spraying and it's bouncing back in your face. It's horrible. It's horrible. But some people love it. Good, Sue. I'm glad you like your binder. Okay, let me see. Fusible and machine stitching is what Ann's doing on her Hollyhock class. Rondi Reeves in the Bay Area. She says that she's got snow all around us. In Livermore, you have snow? It's a crazy year. It's definitely a crazy year. Okay, let me see. I like the glue too. Okay, I got that one. I know, Rondi. It was great during the time period, but literally, I don't think there's any of us that aren't drowning, because we've created. It's kind of great that we've created all of this online stuff, but like before COVID, I had 5 employees, and we just don't have that. So we are trying to figure out what the new normal is, I guess, is for lack of anything better. I hate that saying, but times are just different. Well, with Sandy, because the canvas is thick, you won't necessarily need an additional stabilizer. If you treat your canvas with Material Magic, that should be enough because you're using 10-ounce canvas. So I think that should be enough. Katie Nolan, Bandhauer, only you would say that the 505 spray makes you high. And I do have one here, but I hope that's not why you buy so much of it. No, I'm just kidding. But it does, it kind of gets to your head for sure. It makes you lightheaded. I wouldn't know because I've never been high. Okay, maybe once. But I don't know. I don't ever get that close to it. Mary Beatty, there is no normal. There is no normal in today's times. Okay, the other thing that we have, and we don't have very much of it because I think most of you guys already have bought it, is the glamour thread. So this is what Christy used on her banner. She had a green one. I have the Halloween one left. I'll order more. So this is a 12 weight rayon. So 12 weight is the lowest, thickest thread that you can run through your sewing machine. But it does have a glitter in it. So it's the thickest thread that it's, I think if I remember correctly, it's equivalent to 3 strands of embroidery floss. But it also has a metallic running through it. So we do have one of these, S142 for $49. It's the Halloween collection, Spooky Hollow. But I'll order the other colors again because they are good. Could use a mask. Barb, you are always the realistic one. I know we could use a mask with the 505 spray. We should. I just have never found that I love it. So I've always found other things. But I will say when I'm teaching a class and I've got 30 people, like at Road to California or at Quilt Show Reno, and I have needed it because we've done free motion quilting, I have taken the spray based and I make everybody go out in the hallway to spray it, just because it makes it quicker and we have such a limited time. So there is always a place for everything. And then the other thing that you might want with the fusibles, if you're doing the applique, they've just come out with the super nonstick needles. So S126 is the 116, S125 is the 9014, S124 is the 7010, and S131 is the 8012. So I know I say this a lot, but sometimes you need to hear it more than once. The higher your number of needles, so 116 is going to be a big-eyed needle, so you can put your super thick threads like the 12-weight glamour through it. The 90 is going to be a little bit smaller, but it's still great for the thicker threads. If you're working on the canvas like Sandy's doing for her Mustang, you might want the 9014 or the 116 just because it's got a bigger head, so it's going to go through your canvas easier. The 7010 is going to be super fine. So it is going to be like if you're using monofilament, the eye is going to be smaller and it's going to make a smaller hole. I love 70 needles. They sew like butter, but I move too fast. So literally I would break, if I took this package home tonight and I worked on a project, I would break all of those needles tonight. So even though I love them, I can't afford to use them because I'm too rough. I'm like a bull in a china shop. Katie will tell you. And then the 8012s are a little bit sturdier, but they still are great for the lighter weight threads. So I think that is everything that we have on fusibles for today. So let me know if you guys have any questions. And you can always type on the Fabric Chick Stitch Along. If you do start to do an applique or if you do anything and you have a question, just type it in on Fabric Chick Stitch Along because it's kind of like having 100 mothers. Everybody's going to respond with their techniques, and there is no right or wrong. We all learned something different, and we've all practiced, and we've all kind of created our own way to make things work for what we're doing. So I don't care what class I go to, I'm always going to learn something new, a new technique, a new way to do things, a new way to think about it. That's kind of what being in a community like this is all about, because we all learn from each other. So that's my little spiel for today. I can tell Roger's getting frustrated because the snow just keeps coming. So we're going to call it a night. We will have extra goodies on Wednesday. So join us on Wednesday at 4 o'clock for our sale and giveaways and all that good stuff. All right. Have a good night. Bye.